Have you ever felt like your inner world is just a jumble? A mess of competing thoughts, feelings, and ideas about who you are? Well, we're about to dive into a really powerful framework that helps bring some order to all that chaos. It's called psychological architecture, based on the work of Professor RJ Starr, and it's basically a blueprint for understanding the very structure of you. It's a feeling I think we all get. You try to think your way through a powerful emotion, or you look to your identity to figure out what's meaningful, and you just end up feeling more tangled than when you started. So why is that? Why can the simple act of trying to understand ourselves feel so incredibly messy? Well, Professor Starr points to a huge problem: fragmentation. We tend to treat the different parts of ourselves like they're in totally separate rooms. We try to analyze our thoughts without our feelings, we boil our identity down to just a list of personality traits, and we separate out our search for meaning. But that's not how we actually live, is it? In real life, all of this stuff is happening all at once. So how do we start to fix this? The proposed solution is this framework called psychological architecture. And I want you to really think of it like a blueprint, one that shows you how all the different rooms of your own psychological house are supposed to connect and work together as one single coherent home. Now, the key thing to get here is that this isn't about adding a bunch of new complicated terms to your vocabulary. It's about providing an organizing logic. It helps you see the structural location of your experiences, basically clarifying where something is happening inside you so you can address it from the right place with the right tools. The whole thing, this entire architecture, is built on 4 fundamental pillars. And these aren't just topics or ideas. The source material is really clear that they are distinct structural dimensions of how we function as human beings. Each one answers a different, absolutely essential question about our experience. All right, let's start with the first domain, the mind. At its very core, this is the part of our system that deals with processing information and trying to organize our experience. You can almost think of it as your internal CPU. So, the mind's main job is to take all the raw, messy data of life and organize it into something that actually makes sense. It's the part of you that creates the story, the explanation, and that coherent picture of what in the world is going on. And this shows you exactly what the mind is busy doing. It's in charge of what we notice through perception and what we focus on with our attention. It decides what things mean through interpretation. It runs all those what-if scenarios through simulation. And most importantly, it weaves everything together into a story through narrative construction. Okay, next up, let's move to the second domain, emotion. Now, if the mind processes our experience, emotion is what prioritizes it. Now, what's so interesting here is the order of operations it implies. Emotion tells us what matters before our cognitive mind can even begin to explain why. It's that raw signal of relevance, the feeling that grabs you by the collar and says, hey, pay attention to this. Our emotions are constantly scanning our world and sending us these critical signals. Is this important? Is this dangerous? Is this person someone to bond with? Am I going through a loss? Is this something or someone I should care for? You see, emotion is our fundamental valuing system. The third domain is all about stability. This is our identity, the anchor of the self that holds us steady through all the chaos of time and change. The whole function of identity, then, is to answer that big question. Who is the I that is having all of these thoughts and feelings? It's the part that consolidates everything into a continuous story of me, giving us that essential sense of continuity from one day to the next. And how does it do this? Well, it weaves together our past through memory, our function in the world through our different roles, like being a parent, an artist, or a friend, and our sense of self as it's reflected back to us by others. That last part, relational recognition, is all about how we see ourselves through the eyes of the people around us. And finally, we arrive at the fourth domain, meaning. If identity anchors us in who we are, meaning is what orients us toward where we are going. Meaning is basically our internal compass. It's the domain that takes our individual, day-to-day experiences and places them within a larger horizon, a sense of purpose, a direction, a why that helps us get through challenges and organize our lives towards something. So this is the domain that helps us sort out what truly matters most through our value hierarchies. It clarifies what burdens we are willing to carry, which is our responsibility. And it provides us with that overall sense of direction for our lives. Okay, so we have these 4 distinct domains, but just knowing them isn't the whole story.
The real power of this framework comes alive when you see what happens when we mix them up, what the source material calls a category error.
This slide is so important. Just look at these common mix-ups. I mean, have you ever tried to think your way out of a deep feeling of sadness? Well, according to this framework, that's asking the mind to do the work of emotion. It can't do it. Or have you ever felt a really intense emotion and expected it to give your life a coherent structure? That's asking emotion to do the job of identity. These category errors are exactly why we spin our wheels, wasting so much energy and weakening our internal alignment. And this right here is the key takeaway. The whole point of mapping these domains isn't to chop yourself up into 4 separate pieces. It's actually the exact opposite. By understanding the distinct job of each part, we can finally see how they're all meant to work together. It clarifies the path toward real integration. So, let's bring all this together. The goal of understanding your psychological architecture is to become a better architect of your own inner world, to make sure all 4 domains are strong, distinct, and most importantly, working in harmony. Here's a powerful summary of the whole framework. Think of this as your personal cheat sheet. The mind is always asking, how is this processed? Emotion asks, how is this felt? Identity is asking, how is this owned by me? And meaning asks, how is this integrated into my path? And this is so crucial. This isn't about achieving some perfect, flawless psychological state. That's not the point. The source material emphasizes that real structural maturity is about increasing our bandwidth, our capacity to handle life's complexity, by making sure there's better alignment across these 4 critical domains. So this all brings us to one final big question. The 4 domains, mind, emotion, identity, and meaning, they exist inside all of us. That basic architecture is stable. The real question, the one to really think about, is how well are they working together for you? How aligned are your domains?